Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Um, Vacation is done for now. Um, I'm back in the city in which I live. My wife's back in the city in which she lives. And even though the work week doesn't start till Sunday, I'm back at my home city so that I could get preparations underway to try to start the semester strong. I just got through telling her that I arrived in my home city safe. And in the process of that, I also she asked me the question, why did you leave now? And I said, well, the other time that I could have left was going to be tomorrow, but it was going to be early. And it would have been a difficult time of day, in the morning for you to bring me. She understood. Look, many of us who do have good spouses still have to be prepared. To those of us who are married, there is still a responsibility from a red pill perspective. It's on you and it's on me. Not only do we have to tell these young brothers when we meet them about these pitfalls that are waiting on them, especially whichever ones their mothers don't want them to know, but we must also tell our good wives and daughters and sisters two important things. And these things are known, but we still have to say them. Number one, we're going to have to tell them not to defend bad women. And that's pretty obvious. That would make them look bad, but it would make them bad. But the other is to not even defend the good ones from us, and that's less obvious. But the reason for it is an obvious reason. They're not to defend the good ones from us because we're not out here attacking good women. We can rightfully disagree with good women who sit back and wait for guys who learn from bad women to not make approaches to make the same approaches that we've learned not to enact. But that's not an attack. That's a disagreement, and that's a correction. Not only can they disagree and at their own risk, but they will disagree because even good women can't bring themselves to go for the men they want, no matter how much they have worked and pursued every other goal they want in life. They don't know how to approach, and they feel even more entitled to be approached because of the crap through which they won't put us intentionally. So while you and I don't feel entitled to have our approaches approved just because of the trouble with which we will not vex the women that approve, the good woman feels entitled to never have to approach a guy, but to be approached by the guy she wants and notices first just because of the same negatives, the same troubles with which she won't intentionally vex that man of whom and whose approach she approves. So she's thinking, well, I'm not going to vex this man. He should come to me. And we're sitting up thinking, I'm not going to vex this woman. But she doesn't have to approve of me anyway. We're not the same. Even we and good women are not the same, not because we're not both good, but because we're not trained to be the same. We are not trained to have any entitlements. We're not even trained to expect them to be good. They're trained to expect plenty from us. And that's not always wrong. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. However, despite all of this, we're not out here attacking good women. We can't tell by looking who's good in general or good for us individually. Lord knows we can't identify them by sight, and that's not our fault and may not always be their fault. But there are good women who are good and aware of the dichotomy who say on social media that they don't want to wear uniforms that identify them as women that don't have a goal to vex men, because that would bring to them attention from the hyenas whose goal is to vex us, use us, drain us every way except sexually, and then discard us or perpetually cheat on us while we raise other men's kids. So out of fear of those women who do mean us harm, they don't want to stand out and stick out. Thus, the important task at hand is to tell our good wives and daughters to not ever defend misandrist, be they intentional and conscious of their misandry, which is obvious, or unaware of it, and simply thinking that we're just less valuable and supposed to be used as objects instead of appreciated as men, which is less obvious and therefore easier for the good women to fall into the trap of defending. That's how they fall into the trap of defending bad women. It's usually by not knowing that they're bad. This is something to teach them at a young age. If we don't, they'll just go with the flow later on and think being a good woman is about what they don't do by itself, while being a good man in her same mind is about what he will do for a woman and not about what he won't do against her. This is the proper way. By telling them these things, it's the proper way to help maintain the distance and distinction between hyenas and good women for our wives and help instill this distance and distinction in the minds of our daughters. Good women do also fall under brainwashing, but the mature ones reject it instead of buying it. They at least make the effort. We can help the ones who are trying to reject it. This brainwashing will teach them that by us guys judging and knowing the differences when they're obvious, we're attacking women in general. But that's the brainwashing teaching them that. And that is teaching them this so as to lead them to the next step, which is to no longer distinguish between themselves and the ill-intentioned women, and then to not behave differently from them. So we can help them to combat this brainwashing with these instructions I gave you. It will not succeed overnight, but over time it will. I hope that what I've said is a benefit. Thank you again for listening. As always, Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout. And thanks to A. Dean for coming through on the Cash App. And welcome to the new members of the First Class Lounge of Jet Black Air. DS and Anonymous. I advise you to go and join that first class. You can join the business class if you would like to save, but I advise you to go and join first class to get more content, because some content is made available to everyone for a while and then it's not available anymore. And then sometimes some content is kept away from the business class for a while and then it's made available to them. But to have access to all of it as it's available as soon as and into perpetuity, the best bet is going to be that first class. And there's more coming, more rhymes, more insight into living here and where I went, where I traveled. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Airways, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.